I'm still impressed by the conversation I had yesterday with watercolor painter Amid El Haddad. It's on YouTube, on my channel. If you haven't seen it yet, I think you should have a look. I think we had quite an insightful chat yesterday together. He told me about the life circle of watercolor. I never thought about it in that way, but he said watercolor has a life circle, and you need to use this life circle. You can keep it wet for hours and hours, but maybe you shouldn't do that because it doesn't stay fresh. I think this is really the way he uses watercolor paint, and comparing that to my style or my approach is that you could see it as two chefs in the kitchen, and maybe he's more the Italian guy who was making a salad in half an hour or maybe 20 minutes with fresh salad, fresh tomatoes, some garlic on top, fresh pepper and olive oil, and then the dish is served and it's good, it's fresh, it's lovely. And I'm still marinating my aubergine in the fridge, and there is a lack of feel getting crispy in the oven for half a day, which is not true because I'm vegan. But it's a different way of working, and this is a different style. And I think comparing styles can be useful when you don't see style as an ego. Sometimes you see artists that use their style as an ego, and I don't think it makes any sense. Comparing, in my opinion, could only be useful to know your style better. And I think it's really important to know your style, because when you really know your style, you get to know your style and yourself better. You know your possibilities, you know your weaknesses. You know how to be really honest to your way of experiencing your world. And then I think your style could show more depth. Yeah, and you can always learn from watching other work. Yesterday I saw a lovely cityscape of Amsterdam from Amid in this exhibition where I was for our conversation. And I was impressed by the way he simplified windows, those countless windows and all those old houses in Amsterdam. And I could believe that he sometimes used only 1 hour to do it, because he simplifies it in his head, in his brain. And it can be really useful to notice this, how someone can do it, because I want to work more outside this summer as well, and I know it's not only fun, but it's essential. It's really an essential thing to simplify things when you're working outside. You can't go back there for days, because every day the light is changing, so you need to work in 1 or 2 hours. You must. Yesterday I spoke my mother on the phone and she told me she liked this watercolor I made in the previous video. She said, well, we can say this is a real Titus. But I know what she means. This is a watercolor that came totally out of myself and I made it for myself. I know there were artists laughing and shouting that working on commission paintings is bad for your artistic process. But I disagree. This collaboration with clients for a painting of a subject I choose, I think is really interesting. You learn a lot because I'm fascinated by looking through their eyes. And how can I know my own way of watching without compare it to others' eyes? So I like to do that, and I don't have a manager here. No one tells me what I must do every day. I even can refuse a commissioned work. Sometimes I do it. I have to explain that this subject that I choose won't result in a interesting painting, but a boring painting. So here in my own workplace I'm more free, and I really feel free to do what I like and what is good for me. Well, maybe you saw me dripping sometimes water on the wet watercolor, and even I put some salt on it. And I was doing that because in this large size you get those straight levels, the first washes of watercolor, and when it dries it can be too flat, too straight. So then I want to make it a bit messy, to put more life in it. It sounds like an easy effect, and that's what it is, but but it works really well. It's really important, I think. And as you know, the salt will pull all the water and all the pigment as well out of the paper. So then you also get quite the same effect as when you drip some water on it. I really would love to get on with this watercolor today, but I think there will not be time left because there's more to do now. First I have to choose the right mat for the watercolor. I just finished the watercolor of the skyline in Deventer. I will deliver this work this weekend, so it needs to be framed as well. I will go to the framer this afternoon, and then I'm going to the gallery to pick up some works another gallery needs, and then we will see if there is still some time to work on this watercolor. And if not, I will continue next week. I like this blue, cobalt blue. So I put the fourth or fifth layer over the houses, and then the blue pigments decide to stay all together here in the corner. All by itself. I did nothing. I was working somewhere else on the watercolor, and then here is a whole life going on by itself. I love watercolor. Stoffenwinkel.
Het is wat koud buiten, man. Jezus.
Wat, is het koud?
Het is echt gewoon stervenskoud.
Stervenskoud?
Nou ja, oh, sorry.
Je was als je thuis bent.
Oef, nee, dit is te groen. Ja. Zo.
Ben je weer met kleur aan het toveren?
Het werkt wel rustiger. Ja. Maar...
Ik vind die mooier.
Ja, jij wil gewoon...
Nee.
Nee, dat krijgt ervoor betaald doen.
Ja, dat waar.
Ik krijg helemaal niet betaald. En dat wil ik ook niet, maar als je zo doorgaat dan wil ik ook niet betaald worden, maar dan zeg ik ook verder niks.
Precies die. Want wat nu hier gaat onwijs veel werken.
Nee, dat is mooi, maar het doet niks.
Nee, dat is niet.
Ja, die heb ik ook al gehad.
Oh, sorry.
So, I made it. Just around closing time. The weekend starts and tomorrow I will deliver this framed watercolor. And this is the second client who asked me if I could bring this sketch as well. I've plenty of sketches from other commissioned paintings over here and nobody asked me this. But since I'm doing plein air sketches, people find those maybe more interesting. So he even asked me if I could frame it. This is the plein air sketch. I made it in another video. The plein air sketch for the watercolor I just finished this week. And the client for this white office building for the watercolor I just started this week asked me the same. Well, thank you for watching and thank you so much for all those lovely comments. I read them all and I'm trying to answer them all, but sometimes it takes a lot of time. So I will do another Q&A maybe next week, because sometimes there is a lot to say about those questions. But now it's weekend. Thank you. See you next week.